What's up, shenanigans and more? This is your psycho host, Psycho Alex, and as you can tell, I am in my car. Also, if you see people popping up, people passing by or popping, it is because, like I said, I am in the parking lot in my car. And also, I don't know where the camera is, so I keep looking at the wrong face. But I decided, because I had a cute look today, I wasn't gonna just let it go to waste. So I decided to make an episode today with you guys. And what the hell could I talk about before heading to the gym? So, a lot of things actually. I came up with a lot of things, a lot of topics that I can. Ooh, excuse the cleavage. A lot of things that I can talk to you guys about. Things that I've been really wanting to talk about, actually, and that is the sense of belonging. At least I wanted to make something for all of us Latinos and all of us who have I can only speak for myself, really, but wanted to make this episode for a long time ago with friends, but adulthood and times and things got tough. On top of that, I didn't I kind of stopped creating. I kind of got lazy, or just didn't have the chance to do the episodes that I wanted to work on. But now that I do have the time and the energy and creative mind to do it, and of course the look, because I'm not gonna let the look go to waste. I wanted to talk about belonging, and to me, I'm gonna speak on it myself. Other Latinos can comment, other Chicanos or Latinos of any type of background can tell me their experiences. But I'm talking about me migrating to the US when I was a kid, and what that was, the culture shock, and how everything that changed my life happened. I just got funny stories throughout everything, growing up in general. Like, I had this thing where, like, I used to not play Mexican music because I felt that we would be, this is true story, like, we would be pointed out or pulled over, essentially, just by simply playing, like, Mexican music. Which I don't know if it's true, as far as, like, it never really happened, but as far as, like, we also didn't play it really loudly. But I had this fear, that was, like, could have been given to me or passed on by my parents, or it was family, or it was just simply that something that I thought would happen, and it was a fear that I had growing up, as well as, like, well, going back to main point is belonging. It took me a long time, up until adulthood, really, to talk to my mom and explain to her how I felt like I was betraying Mexico, or my family, for that matter. When I started having difficulty speaking Spanish again, when I came here, I was 8 years old, and it was so difficult for me to learn the language and lose the accent, and not get made fun of, which happened, still does sometimes, but happened a lot during school and growing up, with talking about saying the words and improperly using them out of context or out of the sentences, and stuff like that. And it was very difficult growing up in general, but it's a whole ass language. So when I finally, I want to say, mastered the language, I was so used to speaking English, even though my mom didn't speak English, but she understood me a little bit enough for me to lose practice to speak Spanish. So then I felt like I was betraying Mexico and my family, or who I was in general, because I was forgetting how to speak Spanish. And I know that Chicanos go through this a lot, when, like, us, even their own family, make fun of them for being an Osabo kid, or for their parents not teaching them how to speak Spanish. But it's not as easy as I thought, you know. I really thought, like, oh my god, people are just extra. Like, you can definitely teach your kids how to speak Spanish, you know. How do you not know? How do you not teach them? But I don't have children of my own, but I do see my brother struggling to be able to maintain that, with teaching their kids to speak Spanish, and maintaining them, you know, trained sort of with Spanish, because their main language is English. I mean, they're growing up in with English classes and all that stuff. I mean, they're specifically them though, they are being taught Spanish and English by school, because it is a bilingual school, which is great. I think it's great. But I can see how difficult it would be at home, you know, because our main language now, our main use of language now is English. You know, not saying that our main language is English, it's still Spanish, but you know, to be in use, it is English. So it makes it really difficult now that I see and I have better perspective. So I apologize, Chicanos out there, if ever I said anything about you and being an Osabo kid. But the memes are funny though, right? So, you know, just learning the language in general, like being able to speak to people and learning all this stuff. You know, there's also a lot of memes about little children being their parents' lawyers, and fucking all the things that they call, like, basically being a translator, and being told, then why do you go to school, don't you know? Like, as if a 7-year-old is gonna know what the fuck, like, medical terms language means, you know. And we didn't have the internet back then, to the access of our fingertips where you could just Google it, you know. We would have to either figure it out, ask questions, or we didn't know what the fuck our parents were signing. But it wasn't really our job, you know. So I went through that, especially with my mom, because when my parents split, like a year after we were in this country, it made it really difficult to just know things. My dad at least learned a little bit of English, so it made it really, really difficult in general just to help our parents or our cousins, and our uncles and aunts, like, translate stuff that needed education, or something. Like, I don't know what the fuck those words meant. Those were big words. But yeah, like at stores and things like that, I was always a translator. With the police, it was always a thing. There was occasions where the police were required in my house if they stole something, if they broke our car windows and stuff like that. We were the victim, you know. We needed help, and it was always like putting me and my brother in front of the whole thing, and speaking up for them and stuff. So it can be really overwhelming, and along with that, I had the experience of feeling, like I said, that I didn't belong, because, and again, this is something that I can identify with Chicanos out there, who feel like they're not Mexican enough, or who they're not, like, original, you know, to our culture enough, and they're also not American enough. Because when you come to America, or when you're born in America from a Latin background, you know, you're not American enough, even though English could be your first language or your only language, even though you know, this is where you were born. Or for instance, for me, this is where I grew up, this is my home. If at any given point I were to move to Mexico, I wouldn't know how to live there, you know. And that made me sad. A lot of times it did make me sad. It did make me feel confused, and sort of like not belonging, not knowing where I was supposed to be, you know. And I feel that in this current time, we're trying to be more inclusive, and we're trying to talk about all the things that they have divided us along the way. And I think that this is one of them, you know, feeling like you don't belong because with your Mexican example, with your Mexican raza, you're not raza enough, and with your fucking American people, you're not American enough, you know. And so it's tough, and it shouldn't, I don't think that it should be that way. I mean, we can create our own group, you know, we can be our own people, but it's certainly not fair. On top of that, what else did I want to talk about? Belonging. In belonging, I had issues with knowing and singing the United States anthem and knowing the Pledge of Allegiance, because I do know the Mexicans anthem, but I won't sing it in Spanish or the American English anthem, but I do know it, you know, enough to sing it in the games, enough to know what the words say, but you know, I was embarrassed to know the American anthem, or felt that my family would reject me for starting to forget Spanish, and also knowing the American anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance, or being proud to live in America, to consider myself an American. Because again, if you consider yourself American but you are from Mexico originally, you know, am I really American, or am I really Mexican, or what the F, right? And then if you are born here and you consider yourself Mexican as well, like, are you really Mexican, or are you, where do you stay, you know, where do you lie in that whole thing? So it's definitely been an interesting journey. If anyone else identifies, please let me know, comment down below. This is for you. It's just so that you know, you're not the only one. And if you're a Chicano American, born in America but raised from Latino or any other region really, parents, know that you're not the only one who felt lost or confused, or like you were betraying your people or your country for being proud to be in America. And like I said, it took me a while. Eventually I spoke with my mom actually, and I explained to her how I felt and how that, like, losing Spanish made me feel. And then I went and started dating this hella Mexican guy who only spoke Spanish, so I got my Spanish back. And also I took AP Spanish. Yeah. So, you know, which those of you who have know that AP Spanish ain't like your at home mom Spanish, you know. It's like, or family Spanish, it's like your freaking proper Spanish. So I felt that shit. It's hard. It's real Spanish, you know. But that's my point. Like, I was born over there, you know. I came to the US. I practiced Spanish every day. It was my first language, and yet I still had a hard time with AP Spanish, or with, like, you know, readapting my language to Spanish, even though it's my first language, you know. So, you know, if you're learning and you're an Osabo kid, keep at it, you know. And if you're not learning it but you're an Osabo kid, don't worry, we still love you. You know, it's tough. It's actually really tough. And I felt like with all of that and having no sense of belonging, I felt like I was losing my identity, because I didn't know, like they say, like the India Maria, ni de aquí ni de allá, not from here, not from there. So I had to create and accept that I created my own, not just culture, I want to say, my own beliefs. I celebrate certain holidays that maybe other people would think like it's weird. I celebrate Dia de Reyes, but I celebrate Thanksgiving, which is a thing that doesn't exist in Mexico, but it does exist in But Dia de Reyes doesn't exist in the US, but it does exist in Mexico. So I picked and chose what were my holidays based on what I liked or what I care for, and regardless of what any other Mexican or any other Chicano like chooses or knows or understands. Like, I made my own holidays, I made my own culture, um, and that's not gonna define me, and it's not gonna make me lose my identity anymore. I am me by being Mexican and American, since I am proud to live in America, and I am also very proud to be born in Mexico, you know, and where my culture and origin is from. That's not gonna change, you know. That is who I am. That is what defines me, being both. And I think that this is a time where if you've ever felt like you didn't belong based on where you were from, where you were raised, what your family or your own people thought of you, fuck them. You know, they don't have to go through, or they might not need to identify themselves like you need to identify yourself. And you know, we belong in our own, we do our own, or we belong with a culture. You are just like, I dated this guy who told me once, he was a little entitled, because he was half Hispanic and half Egyptian, and he was like, he thought that because he looked a certain way, and had, you know, definitely had privilege because of the way he looked, and got away with things that maybe we wouldn't have, or our brothers and sisters who are black wouldn't have. But he would be like, you know, he was really a little bit on the entitled side with that. And I was like, you're just as a minority as we are. You're just as Hispanic as I am. Like, that doesn't fucking make you better than me, or like, just because you think you have this entitlement, like, no, you're still a paisano, you know. This is who you are. You're a mixture of both. You should be proud of both of your cultures. And it wasn't until then that he then was like, you know, you're the only person that has ever actually treated me like I belonged with the Latin culture, or like I'm actually Latino. And I'm like, bro, like, you're half. You're more than yes, welcome to be identify as a Latino, and be appreciative of your culture, and know it, you know, recognize it, appreciate it. So belonging, you know, again, now we even have he's not the first one, but I am very proud of Tenoch Huerta, who is now not just a Latino and a real Mexican. And what I mean with a real Mexican, I mean, like, I just did it. See, I just did it. Mexican born actor who now is appearing on Wakanda Forever, and he has been on different shows, like Narcos Mexico and stuff like that. And he's been doing the work, you guys. This success didn't happen just overnight. He's been doing the work, and now he's finally being recognized. And I appreciate that he's now showing up for us and for our people to represent. You know, I'm reading his book, and I'm excited about that. And yeah, you know, we're being represented for who we are, and he always has beautiful messages, and is representing us, like, you know, I won't say from the hood, from the original, and stuff. You know, it's all really great. So if you ever felt like you didn't belong, this is gonna be a rather short video because I didn't prepare for it. But if you ever felt like you didn't belong, if there were things that you had to come to terms with or haven't come to terms with, just understand, you know, you're not the only one. I had to understand that my family was not going to love me any less if I didn't know how to speak Spanish anymore. And it wasn't like I didn't know, it was just I lost practice of it. But my family wasn't gonna, like, you know, disown me if I knew the anthem, or if I loved to live in America, or if I felt like an American, because of all the years I have lived here. And this is my home, just as much as Mexico is my home. So if you feel like that, let me know. Give me your story. DM me on Instagram at shenanigans and more underscore. And tell me about yourself. Tell me what you think. Tell me about a time where you felt like you didn't belong. And I'll add it. I'll make an update video. How about that? And you guys can tell me more. I will be hosting a brunch for the family dinners. We're just gonna be a brunch, family brunch, for shenanigans and more. And this is just so we can at least once a month get together and socialize with other people and get to know one another and understand and identify. And who knows, maybe we can talk about belonging and bring up new stories for you guys to hear about. If you like anything that I just said, if you identify with anything, please like, subscribe, and hit me up on Instagram. Let me know. Tell me more. I've got new things going on. I actually have a microphone now. Yay! I didn't get to use it today, obviously, because I'm headed to the gym. But have fun, you guys. Take care. Peace and love. Happy New Year. And yeah. Shenanigans. Oh, wait. Toodles.